mermaid slave trade.
Do you want to do
That is, yeah. Can you pull that up? I just want to show
Very
people.
important.
This is very important. No one talks about this. This is just from like a day ago or 2 days ago. The real life mermaids forced into slavery. How female swimmers are lured to China and forced to dive 70 times a day in aquarium tanks after a performer was attacked by a giant fish.
Let's play it.
70 times a day.
Right. That's a lot.
Turn off the audio just in case.
So for those who are listening, there's a mermaid. Ooh, I didn't see that.
Ooh.
Okay,
Well,
this
it
mermaid,
bites her, right?
this giant fish just came down right on her head. And
Why
just
is there a shark in there?
clamped down. Is that a
I
shark?
read the rest of the article
Yeah.
and it said they forced her to keep performing.
No.
Dude, I think we need to like campaign to save the mermaids.
Yeah, what was it? Was it China and South Korea?
Yeah, they're just forcing people to be mermaids. It sounds terrible. Like, how do you lure people to be a mermaid and then to dive 70 times a day?
Job.
I guess that's how bad the economy is.
Yeah.
It's amazing people still believe in real mermaids. Like I've seen some of those like
Wait, what?
hacky paranormal shows, like
Yes.
going to investigate that.
Yeah. Hey man,
Real mermaid spotting.
honestly, I think deep ocean, like the deep sea, that's real space. Like that,
Oh,
I
yeah,
think there's
it's terrifying.
the possibility of real aliens, actual like crazy things is down there. When you look at an anglerfish, like come on, have you seen those things?
No, that's
The
yeah,
light
yeah,
bulb.
with the light bulb.
Yeah,
That's
bizarre.
straight out of a horror movie.
So,
But yeah,
maybe-
like the aliens they've seen or the UFOs they've seen like dropping into the water, the Tic Tac thing, like
yeah,
the ocean is terrifying. And it's the best place to hide because most of the Earth is made of water.
yeah. The Tic Tac video is interesting, and I like hearing those people talk about. Like you were talking about the pilots. Some of those guys do seem trustworthy. My one issue with some of these whistleblowers is that I feel like they've been released by the government to throw off everyone, and they lie
I
on
believe
purpose.
that some of them are for sure that at least.
Yeah. I forget the guy's name, but there's one guy who he was sharing a photo of what he said was a mothership, like a giant alien mothership, and it looked pretty crazy. And he was at a conference about UFOs, and he's legit sharing it. And then the next day, he's like, "I was duped," you know.
Wow.
And some of these guys also they need they're not really whistleblowers. They need permission from the government to then blow the whistle publicly. Which
Right.
to me is like a real whistleblower is someone who's just out there, just I'm doing this, I don't care what happens.
Yeah, you
need to
shouldn't
know.
need. That's the whole point of what a whistleblower is.
Right.
You're doing it despite the danger.
Right. I think we need mermaid whistleblowers.
Back to the mermaids. Chris Carr's in the chat. He said, "Mermaid Talk insists that mermaids are being grilled and eaten at elite Hollywood parties," which is what I was telling you before.
What?
Yeah.
Mermaid Talk. Is that a
Yes,
show?
Mermaid Talk. Well, TikTok. If you fall down the mermaid rabbit hole.
Oh, TikTok.
Yeah.
I don't do TikTok enough, but I will if there's a
mermaids?
campaign to help save the mermaids. Yeah. I feel bad.
There's a whole
Grill?
underground mermaid area of TikTok for you.
So
check it out.
they're eating mermaids?
Grilled and eaten at elite Hollywood parties. Someone said tastes like chicken.
Oh man, that's messed up.
It's always the Hollywood people.
Always. Can we pull up that video of the I wanted to play this. I meant to play it earlier for Paul when he was talking about the plane, the guy on the plane with the demon. Did I send you that video, Paul? With the guy on the plane?
I don't think so.
I feel like this is where you might get one day with your sleep demons. I'll explain it since you can't see it, but there's a guy, this just happened.
This Savannah flight bound for Miami hit turbulence just moments after takeoff, and we're not talking about the skies.
Myself and my friend were talking, we're like, we could have to take this guy down.
Started violently shaking and screaming moments after takeoff. Rosenberg says the crew and passengers initially thought Augustin was having a seizure.
He started stomping his feet violently, like heavily, and screaming. It was kind of a chant. He was talking about devils and possession, and it was like, you have to kind of see it to believe it. Destroyed this other man's seat. Like, he kicked it and punched it and just buckled the seat completely over.
They have video of this guy.
Charged the front doors of the plane, like swinging wildly.
That's when Rosenberg, his friend, and another man took Augustin down.
Right.
Rosenberg
That's gonna
says
be Paul
Augustin swallowed rosary
when he
beads
breaks-
while
Send
on
that
the
link. I
ground
just didn't
and
watch
was
it.
gripping
When he
onto
breaks the
his-
paralysis, you're gonna hit up your demons.
Is
Like
that
now,
like-
after hearing Paul's story, I'm like, this guy, I think he saw something.
Like the lady on the plane. That
Yeah.
motherfucker.
I
fuck
think
her.
that guy who was beating up that demon on the plane saw the same thing that
Yeah, well,
epiphany.
imagine if
saw.
he's been tormented way worse than I have for years and years, and
Right.
like I'm in bed that angry, wanting to like turn and punch this thing, just like fuck you, and screaming in my head because I can't speak.
Right.
Like I don't know.
I
I don't know.
Or maybe he just wanted to go viral.
Maybe he was really going hard.
Yeah.
I have a different like, I don't say, like I've spoken to a lot of schizophrenics in my day, and I'm like sometimes I'm like I think they're maybe seeing something, and that's sort of as affecting their brains, right? Like they're tapped into a different layer of reality.
Right.
You know, like the ones I've talked to, they sound crazy, but they sound like mad poets, and they're saying things that, in retrospect, because this is like 15 years ago, this guy Howard would tell me stuff, who was a schizophrenic, and now I'm like, he was saying everything that was going to come true. You know,
Right.
I think they're tapped in.
Glad used to say that. She would say, "What if like the crazy people aren't crazy and they're really seeing those things and it just sounds crazy to us?" And I always thought that was interesting. And like, I'm a big believer in like, I don't know if it's dimensions or like that we're potentially in a simulation. Like something just doesn't feel right with like dreams and the way you kind of like dreams seem so real sometimes. They're just like different versions of yourself across the universe, and it's like you just when you go to sleep, you tap into another version of yourself in another dimension or whatever it is. But I don't know. I've always kind of been scared that I plugged myself into the Matrix willingly. Like this is a video game, and you don't know though. That's part of like the agreement. Is like you go see how far you can make it on Earth,
Right.
and then I'm going to wake up one day and go, oh, like that whole thing was not real, and I remember I'm someone else.
I know.
Yeah,
I
that's kind of creepy.
I think if they're not already doing it, like I don't believe in simulation theory, whereas we're actually in one. I think they've been kind of building one around us. With like news and media and the way they can manipulate, like kind of like a blue beam would be part of my theory of a simulation theory, where they're kind of, it's a cage of all this fakeness around us, and it manipulates our perception. Like the way different people move around this world, it's all based on their perception, and everyone's got like a warped perception depending on what they believe in, what they read, what they watch, you know, all these things. So it's very weird, but I think we're getting closer to a place where they're going to actually plug people in. You know, like, have you seen the stories about they're considering what they should do with some prisoners if they can put them in a simulation and make it feel like they did 100 years punishment?
Oh my God.
Isn't that
so it's
crazy?
like prison in your brain?
Right, right.
Holy shit.
Is that
I never even
good?
thought of that.
Is
That's a Black Mirror episode.
I know. Is that good or not? Like I don't know.
I don't know. It's going to get real weird. Like, it's inevitable. So like, I'm ready to embrace the tech and AI as much as I can.
Yeah.
Whether I like it or not, because I think it's going to take over.
Yeah.
But
it is.
I'm also scared of like what's going to happen. I know, like, I don't know, people are freaking out about losing their jobs and whatever. And it's like, I'm already scared. I know that. Like, I'm a graphic designer. I do social media and build like Squarespace websites. Like, I'm easily replaced by, you know, a robot. But
it's
I don't
scary.
know.
I don't know, dude.
It's going to get real weird.
I would wish more people would reject it, because I understand how easy and cheap it is. I don't like the way that any of it looks. I know it's going to get better, because I've seen people, like, I don't mess with it at all. But I've seen people make things with it over the past 2 years, and how much it's gotten better. It's gotten way better.
It's going to be indiscernible from reality very soon.
Yeah.
And that's going to be really scary.
Right. Which kind of goes then back to the idea of this prison in your head. Like I'm trying to think of it, like, my gut says I'm not okay with it, because I feel like they need to actually, if they killed someone in your family, right, and they do need to go away, is it fair for them to just pretend go away, you know, even though it might mess with them mentally? Because it's like the physical aspect of jail or of prison seems to be like it needs to be a part of it as well. I don't know.
Yeah. I don't know. The mind might be worse punishment depending on where they put you in there.
It's crazy torture.
That's like insane isolation too, depending on, you know, are you in there with other inmates, or like, are they going to be fake inmates, like a video game? Like,
that's a good point.
You know, who knows? And that's what's scary, is like, as soon as we know we can figure it out in this reality, whatever this is, that's where I'm like, there's no way to know if we already aren't in one or not. If we once we know it's possible, that's when it like breaks for me. Right. So I think we could be. I don't know what it is, but then it's like, how deep does that go? And then what is anything then?
Yeah, I know. That's when I started looking into that. Like, I think his name is Nick Bostrom. I don't know if I'm saying his last name right, but he's the guy who basically created the idea of the simulation theory. And well, his idea is interesting because it's like, if you've seen how fast the development of video games has been just in our lifetime, right?
Yeah.
Then it's reasonable to believe how exponentially it's going to get better, and that at some point they will make something so much better than, you know, Pong, Mortal Kombat, GTA, that it's going to be like a simulation, and that must already exist is his theory, and that we must be inside of one of those. And then there's, like you're saying, layers and layers, because you could have people within the simulation making their own.
Yeah.
So where
That's
you
what I'm
within it?
scared of. I'm scared like this isn't me. This is a character in a game, and I just like agreed to like join it and play and go, let's see what I can do this time. And then it is like in the real world, wherever I'm at, maybe that's an hour, but I lived a life of 70 years, however long my life ends up being.
Right.
But you don't know that because that's part of the deal.
Yeah, I know. It's
like,
crazy.
I don't want to wake up and do this again.
Right. That's why I unplugged, and I was like, I'm just gonna believe in God now. I'm like, because that's just like that's just the OG simulation theory. That's how I started looking at it, you know, because it's a creator making a world, and I'm like, well, that's just, you know, simulation theory is just modern God creator stuff.
True. It'd be much easier. Like, I don't believe in anything, but I'm open because I know I don't know.
Yeah.
But I was raised Catholic, and I shunned that when I was a kid. Like, I always had questions, which is one thing I've always been proud of myself about since I was young. It's like I question everything, and I remember questioning my grandma when I'm like 6 years old in the backyard. I'm like, well, why would God do that? That sounds like a mean person to me, you know?
Right. Oh yeah.
And so it's never been a part of my life. I never believed in it. You know, the older I get, the less I'm like, I know everything and I'm an atheist, and like, there's no way, but like, because I don't know, but I don't subscribe to anything. I'm just floating, going, I'll wait and see what happens.
Yeah. And I was militantly atheist for most of my life. And like, I still, like, you know, I'm just a flawed person with a little human brain. But this made the most sense to me now. And it brings me the solace I need, because it's just chaos out there, you know. And when you're presented with some evil, I'm like, the thought was, when I saw straight up evil, I'm like, well, there's got to be the balance, because I see balance in nature, and if there's this kind of evil, there's got to be the equal opposite, good, even, but, you know, better. So that's what opened my brain up. But yeah, I mean, questioning is great. Funny you say that. Like, I mentioned her quite a bit on the show, but Flannery O'Connor was a Catholic writer, but she wrote about, you know, why it's good to question everything. And she would violently punish her characters who thought they were good, godly people, but never questioned a thing. Some of the most violent, super violent stories you'll ever read. And this is like a little lady from Savannah, Georgia, writing this in like the 40s.
Wow.
who had a peacock farm. She died.
A peacock farm?
Yeah. She was really rad, but she died too young.